Now we are.
Hey everybody, we're gonna let y'all come in. We apologize for the technical difficulties for those who was there a minute ago. It was just a glitch, girl, but we're back in business. How y'all feeling? Y'all, we just gonna let everybody tune on in. Tune on in. Do you still want to try Instagram, girl?
Yeah, let me share it on Facebook first
Okay,
before I get
and then
on
we'll go.
on the Instas.
Yeah, that's what we get on the Insta.
Let me share it to my page.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you can share it to yours. And then
For
we
sure,
can
for sure, for
get
sure,
on this Instagram.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
Sorry guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
We
Bear with
sincerely
us.
apologize, but we're back in the business. If you just give us uno momento, we will be right with you. We back up and running now.
Right.
Happy Friday, everyone. It's been a minute. We missed you very much.
Okay, come on back in the room. Make sure you share this live, like the live, comment on the live, tell your girlfriends about the live, honey. I had this stand I had for when I was wearing my wigs that I was making my man was going to style my wigs on.
Uh huh.
But since I'm not wearing wigs for the moment, I'm going to repurpose her. I think tonight I'm gonna buy a ring light so I can just have the Instagram stuff set up over here so it won't. I think the reason it's making that noise is because it's by the computer.
Got you.
So probably I don't know the thing, but
And it could be me.
yeah, I don't know. Come on in the room, you guys. Let me. Okay, now I think I'm ready to go live on the Instas. So let's see how that works, and then we can get started. Let me see something. I'm going to turn this. Hey, everybody on Instagram, come on in the room.
Come on in the room.
Come on in.
Okay, so I should add myself, shouldn't I?
Oh, Chris is in the room on Instagram. Hey,
Chris, how you doing?
like us platform. What's going on? Are you in the room on Instagram?
I'm about to get
Okay.
on. I'm. There we go. I see. I got the announce official asking me requesting.
Okay, let me bring you on in. Waiting for ATL Lioness work. All right. Okay, let's get this party started.
Let's get it pumping, bitch. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm really blessed. So let's get it started. Thank you guys for bearing with us again. Welcome to another installment of Grown Black Trans Women Talk Live. Before we get started, we just want to do some housekeeping.
Yeah.
Episode 21 is available now, so make sure you guys go download that and go get that. Um, yeah, it's just welcome back. Also, make sure you guys, if you can, if you want to become sponsors of the show, visit our anchor page. All of our links are always listed in the details of our episode page, so you can go see that. Um, yeah, we just happy to be back. Sis, do you have anything you want to say to start it out?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that like, follows, and subscribes. Since the last week, we've been gotten some people that even gave some comments, some topic suggestions that we are excited to include today. So for those of you who don't know, we do this every Friday, and this is an attache to our podcast, which is Box Number 512 Podcast, Grown Black Trans Woman Talk. And like my sister said, we had a new episode that released today. And we would love it if you guys could like, follow, and subscribe, but also just listen to our episodes. We're talking about a lot of good shit. This last episode was about our relationships with cis women. And I think Brianna and I did an excellent job of unpacking those relationships and how they are beneficial to us and how we have grown as a result. And so it's a love fest for our cis sisters out there. So if you're interested and you're tuned in today and you want to know how we feel about you, tune into that episode.
Yeah, so I guess we could start with our topics, but let's get started. I want to get into the listener questions, or the listener. Let's give our graces to our listeners and see what they want to talk about first.
That was actually me, bitch. Now I know.
Okay.
Now we know what it is.
Okay.
It's me. It was me.
So what was the question?
Well, there we go. The question. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because now you're in my head. You're actually in my headphones. The question was, and well, I don't have access to it now because it's on my. Give me a second.
While Lioness is getting ready, I just want to remind you all that this is an interactive platform, so please feel free to comment as you are listening to the topics and you want to interact. Also, the link, if you would like to come on camera and interact with us, the link is currently posted. You can see it on our YouTube broadcast and our Facebook broadcast, where you can come on and we will definitely bring you up so you can interact with us on this platform. So just want to keep that in mind. So,
and for those on Instagram, bear with us on one moment because I'm still on. I'm just having a look at this question, so it's not gonna.
Okay. The show. Well, I'm still on, so they'll still get the
okay.
The back.
So it's shout out. I don't know if he wants to give his name, but he did. He put it on the public page, so I guess it's fine. Shout out to one of our listeners, Shad Crank. He asked the question. He said, "I would love to hear you guys explore Femme Queen and Butch Queen, romantic dating and sexual relationships. Trans women and gay men date so often, but I've rarely heard conversation around it. I'm interested in you and Aeon's thoughts on dealing with feminine men, even topping as a trans woman." So there's a lot of topics there.
Right.
And so I guess we can dig in. So the first one was really Femme Queen and Butch Queen, romantic and sexual dating relationships. So I guess I'll bounce it back to you, sis, for the have you ever been in a relationship with a Butch Queen? And for those of you who don't know, Femme Queen is what is in it's a ballroom term used to identify a category that trans women compete in. And Butch Queen is used to identify a category that a gay man would be in. So just to be clear.
Right. Since I have transitioned physically, I haven't dated any gay identified men. Most of the men that I have dated or interact with have
not knowingly.
Right. Well, not knowingly, but yeah, most of the men that I've hooked up with or dated or been in a relationship with have been like quote unquote straight identified. Mm-hmm. But I do see that in the community, it's particularly the ballroom community, it's very commonplace for trans women to have relationships with quote unquote Butch Queens. That's the term we'll use for the lack of a better words here. But as I've evolved in my own sexuality over the years, and I've evolved in the type of man that I'm attracted to and the type of man that I want, um, me personally, Aeon right now, I would be open to dating a gay identified man or a bi man or a queer man because that's more in line with the type of men. Like, I'm not really that whole like straight label or straight thing at 31 is not appealing to me. And the thing that I find appealing about men that, especially black men that I identify somewhere under the umbrella, is I like the freeness. I like the freeness. I like most of the men that identify somewhere under the umbrella. There's been some interrogation of their own truth, some interrogation of or some unlearning of the gender performance and gender roles. And I am attracted to that because I identify that in myself where I'm not invested in the, and I like for men that I interact with to be free.
Right.
To be free in that respect, and that's what attracts me to gay men or bi men or queer men. So it's not something for me personally. Now I know a lot of trans women are different, but for me, I'm open. Like I don't really care. I don't know. I'm queer myself, so I'm just, it's something that I'm open to. It hasn't happened yet because a lot of the gay or bi men that I have met has been on a friend or like a girlfriend type situation. And I'm just the type of person that even if I'm attracted to you, if I meet you as a friend or on a friend level, I'm very black and white with that. I'm not going to cross the line or try to befriend somebody that I secretly am attracted to or have feelings for. Just like, I don't work like that. And I haven't yet been in a situation where I came across like a gay man or a bi man and like they were like pushing up on me. Like, I haven't experienced that. I would be open to that, but it just hasn't happened for me yet. But I'm definitely open to, and also I think I had to like unlearn a lot of that, the anti-transness and anti-queerness I had in myself, because I think when I was younger, it's just like, well, why do I want a gay man? I'm a woman and I should only be pulling straight men and I should only be attracting straight men. But I think I've evolved to a point where if I met that type of man, I would be comfortable with it. Because anyway, to be truthfully honest, my next relationship, I would prefer if my next man, I would really prefer if he was somewhere on the sexuality spectrum. I just, in my personal opinion, I feel like it would make our interaction a little bit easier. And I'm just not as attracted to like super straight hyper man. Like, for me, it just doesn't do it for me as far as what I'm attracted to. But I definitely think it's possible. I definitely think there's commonalities, and I feel like a man that's on the spectrum, the sexuality spectrum, I feel like there's inherently more protection for you as a trans woman than it would be with like a stereotypical straight black man. It's just, my opinion. That's just how I feel about it. So I definitely am open for it. I don't shame it. And I'm very aware that there are people within the gay community that are trans attracted, specifically to trans women, and that these type of relationships do happen. So I'm definitely open to it. What are your thoughts?
I think, so sis, you know what? I feel very similarly to you in that, I at this, I'm married. So I'm kind of out of the game as far as like trying to pick a new man. Like, I'm good. Like, that's not going to happen. But in the past, I have accidentally or not intentionally, well, it was a gay man that felt the need to not be as honest about him being a gay. And it took me discovering that he was gay And not that I would have had a problem with him being gay, but again, it was the deception. It was the deception of him not telling me. That was the problem for me. And not that that would have been an issue, but it was like we in the same. So why are you lying to me? It was really irritating. And the relationship ended when I found him Jay setting in the club in a bikini. I had to, and we had like a moment after that, and then we became friends, and we've been friends ever since. If he's listening, no shade, I love you, boo, no shade. But yeah, we've been friends ever since, and like that relationship was fine for me. But no, I definitely don't have a problem with it, and I see in our community that it is becoming something that is more prevalent, and that is something that I'm very excited about, or at least people are open about it. I think men, at the end of the day, gay men are men. And all gay men are not on the spectrum so far extreme that they can't appreciate womanhood.
Right.
And we have to acknowledge that just like bisexuality exists and cis women are dealing with it, and that's something that they have to negotiate in their relationships, bisexuality does exist in trans attraction. And so knowing that fact, I think, gives me the ability to have a little more empathy for people in those situations, because I don't believe anybody's sexuality is a pendulum. I do not identify necessarily myself as someone that plays around a lot with, sexuality. I tend to be, very heteronormative in what I believe and what but that doesn't make me at all like not understanding of people that are attracted to me, and I think that that's flattering. And I do see the beauty and attractiveness in all people. But yeah, I think that in community, when we have these conversations, a lot of times we start, like what you say, we start revealing our homophobia, our transphobia, our feminophobia, and it comes out in that conversation, because then it becomes you're denigrating this man for liking what he likes, but at the same time, you don't want someone to denigrate the men that like what you like. What I really would love to talk about more, though, is how, yes, there's even some gay men that will date us, that will have sex with us, that will be in relationship with us, but then will still try to uphold that same toxic man-ass narrative that we're somehow tricking people. I hear a lot of gay men, especially when the girls die, they're really quick to go online and to like put a narrative out there, they're questioning whether or not that she was that she was what she was. We just gotta work on that relationship. I think butch queen, femme queen relationships in general need improvement, and I feel like us being honest about the dating is the first step, which is why I thought this question was good for today. So yeah.
Yeah, I think within that, we still have to acknowledge that gay men are still men, and gay men can still be misogynistic. Because I even think sometimes, even within community, some of us can see gay men as less of men, and that's not necessarily the case. Even if you're still dating a black gay cis man, he's still a man, so there's still a chance that he might say something problematic, something misogynistic, something cis sexist, something it's still, just because somebody is gay doesn't take them out of the category of being men. Also, what was I about to say? I want to circle back to your point. I feel like, and this is what I've seen from some trans women, I feel like a lot of us have to check our own biphobia, because I've seen certain trans women, prominent trans women, when they speak on this topic, it's just like, well, if you like men, like, what does that say about me? And I'm confused. Like, as if people can't be bisexual, as if somebody can't be attracted to like a different sex, but their attraction to you still be valid. So I think a lot of us still have to work through the biphobia. That is, because for me, like I said, I identify as queer because I don't care what you like, because when we're messing around, like, that's us. And so I don't care if you're attracted to him. Like, to be honest, that's none of my business, as long as you're with me. And then if we're in a relationship, and because I'm somebody who's monogamous, I would want to be in a monogamous relationship. I don't think you being bi or pan or whatever, if we're in a monogamous relationship, we're going to be monogamous. So you can be attracted to whatever you want to be attracted to, but if we're in a relationship, I'm expecting a level of like faithfulness and fidelity, which is different. But I feel like a lot of us just have to really work through our inherent biphobia and I think the deception, that's a different conversation because we don't. Oh, it's an echo.
It is.
Okay, so what we're going to do, if it's an echo, I'm going to.
It's not going to be an echo now. I just got to do it when you talk, but I can't. So let me I need to really get a second pair of headphones because I can't hear through these. And so I keep taking you off the headphones. I'm sure there's no echo now, right, guys?
Is there an echo, y'all, who's listening? Can you type in the comments? Okay, they're still saying that it's okay. Now they're saying it's no echo on Facebook. Is there an echo on Instagram? Okay, we'll keep it on. Okay, sorry about the echo. But yeah, I think we even as trans women have to really work through the biphobia that we perpetuate. Because I'm not like people are attracted to different people, but if if I'm in a monogamous relationship with you, I'm expecting you to be monogamous. But to me, it's not something that I have. When people come to me, I just am aware that the guy could like anything, and it just like I don't because I don't come from like a cis woman mindset. I'm not thinking that you're a man, you're only supposed to like women, and that like. For me, my mind doesn't work like that, but because of how things are, I can see why that's a problem. But the deception thing is different. It's a different conversation from us truly holding space for people that are bi or people that are pan. But I think that that was a good question. But yeah, I'm attracted to men. So I've been around enough gay men, even like
I know that some of them are fine as hell, sis.
Or not even fine. Even the super femme ones, like they are still men at the end of the day. Like if you be around a gay man long enough, they will start to like do typical men things. And like to me, I don't really get caught. And no shade, I like my man with that's a little bit femme. Because even straight men. Even most straight men want to be femme, or not femme even meaning girly, but femme meaning they want to act outside of a masculine energy that the person. And to me, I'm fine with that. If we're together, I want you to like be yourself. Like I don't want you to feel like you have to perform.
I'm confused actually. I would love for you to explain more because I'm not even sure what you mean when you say that you have straight men that want to be feminine,
right?
You mean when you say you mean like role playing? Are you saying like they want to be able to express themselves? I'm just trying to get.
They don't. Okay, so this is like when we have conversations about like why toxic masculinity is bad and why men are even harmed by toxic masculinity is because what is considered to or what is permissible to be a man is so narrow. Certain emotions or certain personality traits, guys feel like they can't express because it immediately calls into question their masculinity. So if you want to cry, if you want to laugh, if you want to have fun with the lingo or talk with or you want to keep like some guys, I've experienced some guys feeling comfortable to do that. Like if a guy stands a certain way or if a guy has his feet out or like just like little things that if a guy was like in a cis het environment, it would be like, yo, you gay or yo, you fruity or like just little stuff like that.
I respect what you're saying because I have been in, and this is the truth. I feel like we live in a society where there's the expectation of performative femininity and performative masculinity. And so like, in front of your girl, you're supposed to act a certain way, hold yourself a certain way. And like, you're not supposed to be emotional. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard cis women say toxic things like, oh, I don't like my nigga like crying and shit and being
Right.
all vulnerable and shit. And it's like, well, sis, you don't want a healthy, evolved person that trusts you with their emotions if you don't want somebody that's gonna actually take the time to care about you, to be honest and open with all of their feelings and all of their emotions. And because I'm also, I hate that we live in a world where, like you said, men aren't allowed to fully express themselves. And it's almost like even in relationships, men are expected to be caged by this barrier or this box of what masculinity is. And I think that's just terrible and toxic.
Yeah, so like, yeah, I just, with me, I'm going to constantly encourage men to be themselves in, whatever shape or form that they come in. But me, I like, I don't, and me, I'm just not attracted to hyper masculinity in a way that I was when I was younger in my transition. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm a weirdo. So all that stuff I'm okay with.
Instagram kicks me off on occasion as a guest. I don't know what that's about, so y'all forgive us.
Yeah, but no, thank you, Shaw, for sending in that question. But
the second part of it was, and I don't know if you want to touch on it, but it was us. It was so it was about asking about the relationships, but it was also a part on there, I guess, asking about our sexual comfort with the roles that we perform. He particularly asked how we felt about topping. And he said he felt like we could do this conversation some justice, and I'd like to give it a shot at least. I want to start, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So how I feel is it's nobody motherfucking business what happens between two consenting adults in the bedroom. I think if you haven't been curious enough yet to venture out, and actually look on the internet, a lot of men enjoy a lot of different things. And there is no, it's not, and I won't say, and people biologically, there is pleasure that can be gained physiologically, I should say. There's pleasure that is gained from being popped, and that's for whoever's experiencing that. And I feel like we live in a world where we try to be so narrow in, again, how men are able to express themselves, that we will deny them access to pleasure. And in a lot of cases, sometimes the reason why men will engage in a transactional manner with someone that can provide a need from them that their wife won't is because there's so much shame around it. And so I think that there's nothing wrong with it. And I also think that there's too much shame around people being able to express themselves in whatever way they want to. That part I feel like is not necessary for you to be, because at the end of the day, the only person that you should be concerned about is the person you're engaging with. And as long as they're down, then what the fuck does it matter? When you start making it a bigger thing and start involving other people, in my opinion, you're doing too fucking much. What is your thought, sis?
Hold on. What was the question again?
How do we feel about topping or a trans woman doing that?
I mean, I don't feel any type of way. I feel like that, that is grown folks' business, topping. But also, I think because of my personal politic, I don't know. I just don't, like, which has evolved, because I remember when I first transitioned, it was like, you don't let him touch that. You don't top him. If you meet a bottom man, that's a bad thing. That's not a good thing.
Sis, check out these comments in the Instagram.
I'll get to the comments.
Yeah. Go ahead, finish your thought, but I just wanted you to make sure you saw that.
I see the comments. It was definitely, you shouldn't be topping. As I have evolved in my personal politics, and as the trans conversation has become more popular and we have different figures, especially people who are non-operative or pre-operative, who enjoy pleasure from, having their genitalia pleasured and doing different things, I think it doesn't bother me as much, because whether somebody is topping or not, I still see trans women as women, and I still see men who get bottom as men, right? So I I personally don't have a problem with it. I know me personally, I don't identify as a top. I did go through a period where I thought I was a top, but I gave myself freedom to try out that label to see if that was who I really was. Just to see, like, am I as hot? But when I went through that journey, I was just like, wow, this is fun. This is not, I don't want to be, I'm not 100% a top. I don't know. I just been through, I think nobody, especially with trans women, talks about like sexuality, like just what does our journey like look for us sexually? What does like our sexual liberation look like as these people with with these different queer bodies navigating this? Like, what does our pleasure look like? And I don't feel like I don't know. I don't feel like a lot of times we're really given the space to have autonomy over our bodies, just societally and sexually. And a lot of times we have to, our bodies are the site of like disgust and shame, but it's also can be at the site of pleasure for other people. And I know my personal journey has been, especially with me going through cancer and throughout the chemos, like I kind of had to use that because I was going through so much physical pain. It was like, well, bitch, when I have sex, that needs to be, I physically need to experience pleasure because I'm going through so much pain, which kind of kickstarted me going through this journey of me exploring my sexuality in that way, in reference to positions in the bedroom. But I really don't feel like we as trans women really get the opportunity to really explore our sexuality in that way. And I just want to encourage trans women to just be open to exploring, to really, if you feel comfortable with it or if it's something that's on your mind, just to be open to exploring, what position are you, what really makes you feel comfortable aside from all of this, I have to be a woman to do this, like what makes you feel comfortable, what gives you the most pleasure. And you also need to be demanding this or making this at least the bare minimum from the partners that you engage. Like at the end of the day, I feel like especially in sex, trans women should be getting all of the pleasure that they
well, let's talk about that a little bit, sis. I think let's unpack the way the politics behind it, because I get the question, but then I also see the deeper question. So I have been in the community for quite a while, and there is a mentality in community that particularly permeates on the internet. In person, we really don't talk about sex as much as people think we do. Mm-hmm. But on the internet, in some of these conversations that we've had to engage in, there are a lot of women that are very negative, very nasty, very, very demeaning to men that would dare say, I am a bottom, or a man that would say, I am versatile, or a man that would say, I'm open to experiencing what I like, or a man who would just even say, I like a woman with a penis. And I think it's based in, it's a couple of reasons. I think one of the reasons is a lot of girls will project their own dysphoria onto other people.
Right.
If you are in a situation where you, with your body, you plan on having some surgeries, or even if you're not planning on having some surgeries, you have a relationship with your genitalia where you dislike it and you don't want someone else to engage with it, fine. That's for you. And everyone has their journey, and we've all had our various different surgeries for our own comfort levels. My problem is when you get to the place where then you say, well, if you don't feel how I feel, then you're not a woman. And if you don't feel how I feel, the men that would like me for being who I am, there's something wrong with them. I can't tell you how many times online I have heard girls, I've even seen girls put up pictures of men, and the slur that they throw out to tear him down is that he bottomed. Well, bitch, if he bottomed, that means you topped.
Right.
If he bottomed, that means you topped. Mm-hmm. So then how dare you then take the opportunity to try to shame somebody for something that you had no trouble doing because your dick got hard and you put it in his butt. So if you did that, then how dare you feel in that moment like it's okay for you to shame him for that? Because that is nothing that was, one, anybody's business. Two, not only was it not his business, you had no right to put him in that position, because the reality of it is between you and him is what happened between you and him, and the shame you're putting on him online is terrible. Now, there's another part to that. There are men, though, that will come with this mentality that are actually bisexual, that actually have no interest. I'm sorry, we're getting back in. That actually have no interest in connecting with us as human beings. Am I back in?
No. It kicked me off of Instagram, so I just paid it. I just told everybody to come to our YouTube and Facebook.
Perfect, girl. Okay, excellent. I'm gonna get off of this. Okay. So yes, we engage, and I like this much, but not having to worry with the second screen, bitch. But we'll work that out. We'll be, for those of you who want to view us on Instagram, we'll work that out. But it wasn't many people anyway, so it's okay. But I feel like there's a second part, and there are men that are actually bisexual that will come and find a trans woman to experiment with, because on their journey to finding their sexuality, they aren't certain where they are. So then you will come to us and make us feel like all we are is penises. There are some dick happy ass niggas out here. And it is worthwhile. It is important to notate that, because we are in situations where people are approaching us to come out for the purpose of doing an act that they are not feeling comfortable with doing in another way. And sometimes those men will treat us as worthless pieces of meat. They will reduce us to our organs. And those are usually, for those ladies that want to know, those are the men that's going to say best of both worlds. Because essentially, you're looking me in my face and you're saying, I see you as a woman, but I like the man in you too. And that's not fucking okay. Because if I told you I'm a woman, then you're denying that by saying that there's another world to play in. Now, I am not saying I'm not a two-spirited being. I'm not saying that I am not wonderfully and beautifully made in a unique way, but there's a way to handle it without reducing me to my parts. And sometimes I've been in conversation with men online where the first thing they want to know is what size you are. They want to know if you've had the surgery. And then once they found out you have had a surgery, then it's, oh, I don't want to be bothered with you, as if your whole being is nothing now. And then there's a third step to that. All of us have been in relationships with men that were discouraging to us in different parts of our transition, because they were comfortable with us where we were and they didn't want to see us progress forward. I remember there were men that before I started hormones were like, don't do that to yourself. You're going to ruin yourself. Why? Because they wanted fully functional. They wanted all the special sauce. And they were afraid that I would lose the ability to give them what they wanted. And so then they started trying to make it seem like I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that. That's going to mess me up. Don't do that to your body. But you still want me. But you want me to be able to be what you need in that sexual position. Then, as I'm going through the process and I'm beginning different parts of it, there were men that were discouraging when I wanted to get physical surgeries. There were the people that were like, oh, don't do that to yourself. You're going to ruin yourself. I like you the way you were. I like you like this, because they were interested in very, trans women that are very new. They kind of like the beginning trans body where you're not quite, where they kind of, where they can kind of still experience you in a way that makes them feel comfortable with their freak flag. Because a lot of us are trying to get a lot of men that deal with us are just trying to get their rocks off. So whatever their special fetish is, they want you to be that. And then lastly, I feel like there are people in our community that will try to denigrate and tear down a girl that does not have that final surgery. And like I said in the beginning, it is purely based on this misnomer that to be a woman, to be a trans woman, to live this experience, to get up every day 365, to get a job, to do all of the things, to go through all of the discrimination that we have to do while doing all these things. for you to reduce me down to just my body parts and say whether you have this or whether you don't have this depends on whether or not I like you, whether or not you're valid as a person to me, whether or not I should be concerned about you, whether or not I should advocate or care for you. Because the society has told us that if you don't have the surgery, you're not a woman. And the problem with that is everyone can't afford it. Most people can't, because who has $20,000 to $50,000 to blow? Not many people. Who has the kind of resources? And for those of us that have had the resources, it's like we try to look down on people that don't have, because now surgery, even transition, has become a class issue. So I do see different layers when we talk about these sexual roles and how they play out in our real lives. Because on the flip side, yeah, there is some internalized transphobia. Yeah, there is some internalized, what's the word I want to use? Dysphoria that we project on other people. But on the flip side, there are men out there that because they're engaging with us in a transactional manner, because they've only been used to engaging with us in a sexual way, will reduce us to nothing but our parts. And that's disgusting to us also. Even for those of us that have no problem with our parts, that is still disgusting that you would reduce someone down to that. Or make a girl feel that has the surgery, feel like she's not ill because she chose to have it. That's not fucking okay either. So there's a comment I see.
There are a lot of trans attracted or trans amorous men who judge men who bottom. It's too close to being gay to them. I used to think that way.
Exactly. And because let's talk about that. So then if there's anything that you could do with a trans woman that's gay, then you didn't see her as a woman to begin with. And there's a part of you that you're not ready to unpack that is still struggling with the fact that they might actually like something else. And you have to be real with yourself. I think it all goes back to being real. I think that there are trans amorous men who love and appreciate trans women, and they identify as non-gay men. They identify as trans amorous straight men because they're only attracted to femininity and women of all forms. But then there are some men that are in the spectrum that are more bisexual that are also trans amorous, meaning they will date women, they will date us, and they will date gay men. Now, that doesn't change who they are as men, but that is a conversation where you have to be honest, because there's nothing that you could do with a trans woman that could make you feel more gay unless you already felt that way. Don't put that onto me then and project onto me this insecurity that I need to have about my body to make you feel okay with your sexuality. What were your thoughts, sis, on this?
But I kind of want to say that whether a trans amorous man is going through that in his head about using your parts or all of that, to me, I feel like that is none of our business. Like, that has nothing to do with us. Like, if a trans woman feels comfortable with topping and using her piece on it, and that's where she's at, because I think it kind of sets up this unrealistic narrative that all of these men are going to see you as a woman and you'll be able to ride into like, even for me, I know that there's a portion of men that I interact with, no matter how much I tell them I'm a woman or how much I know I'm a woman, or they might even gas me up or say the right shit right now while we're having this interaction. I don't know what they're thinking when they're leaving the room. They could still see me as a man or whatever, but that's none of my business, because at the end of the day, for me, it's about how I see myself and how I validate my own womanhood. And I just think, for me, it got to a certain point where it's really not about what this other person thinks. It's about how I feel about myself and my own relationship to my own body. And that no matter what I'm doing, I know I'm not gay, quote unquote, or I know I'm not a man. I know I'm a woman. I know I'm in my body. But for me, it's like, well, whatever's going on, I'm going to make sure that I get my own pleasure and that I affirm myself. And if I'm lucky, I'll find somebody that's on the same wavelength as me that we'll meet somewhere in the middle as far as our pleasure and our sexual interest, and they will also affirm me as a woman. But I know that that's very rare. Excuse me, but I think we go down a slippery slope where when we try to demand the way in which other people see us. Like I just feel like people are going to see what they want to see, but for me, doing the internal work on myself to really challenge the internalized transphobia and the internalized triggers that I have, I think every day it doesn't bother me as much because it is what it is. People are going to see me or they're going to perceive me however they want to perceive me, but at the end of the day, it's how I perceive myself and it's how I take control of my sexuality and how I take control of my experience. And I just feel like, but because we're like, people are still going to have sex. Like, people are not going to stop having sex. I think the onus should be placed on trans women being free to explore whatever options that they want to explore sexually, and trans women affirming themselves in a way that feels comfortable and natural to them, rather than being worried about what these men, who a large majority of these men are having to come through their sexuality in these secret and closeted ways. I just don't feel like the burden should be put on them to be these representations, but it should be placed on trans women to affirm themselves and making sure that they're always checking in with themselves, and that they should be defining their womanhood, because we're specifically speaking of trans women, that they should be defining their womanhood and their sexuality and what they like in the bedroom on their own terms.
I agree. I also think, sis, there's another part to this where when we talk about this, what do you think about the culture of dating trans people? Because now, let's be real, a lot of dating now is done online.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the dating that was previously done online was done on websites, because before there was Trans Amber's dating sites for us to be on, and before Facebook and some of these other, that men felt comfortable joining these Facebook groups and trying to get to know us on there. I remember a time where engaging with men, men had to go on gay platforms to with us. So I feel like the residue of that is we have carried over this language sometimes that I feel like can make a girl feel like you seeing me in a hookup gay kind of way, like very cruising language. So like, I am very, like, for example, I actually don't like it when within 2 seconds of a conversation, some man is like, are you top, bottom, or verse? Because now I know already off the rip, before you ever ask me my first or last name, before you ever ask me what color I like, before you ever ask me anything that will make me a human to you, you want to know if you can put your dick in me or if I'm putting it in you, or we're doing. And it's just like that transactional nature, while it is convenient, right? It allows us to be able to get some of the stuff out the way early. It also, I think, unfairly, it doesn't allow us to unpack ourselves in the way that they would with cis women. Nobody's going to a cis woman when you first meet her and going, can I put it in your pussy or your anus? Are you into anal sex? Like, no one's giving her that. But I
think that's the assumption, though, because we live in a heterosexual world, though. Like, nobody, because I kind of feel that I feel the opposite.
Let me just say, like, that would be like a woman saying, that would be like asking a woman, do you give blowjobs on the first date? Do you suck dick? Do you, like, what I'm saying is, it's not that the questions aren't relevant. It's not that those aren't important questions to have with a partner before you engage in sex. The problem is, for me, is that there are men that will tell me, I just want to be your friend. Okay, you just want to be my friend. Just my friend. Or you just want to be my, you want to get to know me and this is going to be a relationship. Well, I'm not fucking you tonight. I'm not fucking you anytime in the right now. You haven't proven that you're worthy to be fucked in the foreseeable future. I don't really know you. So then why is it so important that in this first conversation, you know my most intimate sexual desires and needs? Like, that is crazy to me. And I personally am offended by that, but I know I'm just me. And not that we can't have that question, but I feel like a residue of men having to engage with us in a gay platform is because on those platforms, you have to put it in the description, and it's something that is already shared. And I get it if we're on a dating platform that we're sharing that, but like if I'm just talking to you on Facebook, or if I meet you in the street and I get your number and you hit me up, why is that always the first thing? That is just disgusting to me. What are your thoughts, sis?
I kind of feel differently about that, only because, okay, if we're just being platonic friends, then no, you shouldn't. If we're just being friends,
well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Know that information. But for me, like when it comes to like dating with the eye towards possibly hooking up and having sex, for me, I'm not, just because I'm a woman, or I'm moving in the world as a woman, I don't want any assumptions about what I like sexually, because I know what I like in the bedroom is not the typical heteronormative thing. So if the interaction is looking towards us eventually hooking up or eventually getting together in that way, for me, that's a conversation I want to have it in the early stages, because I don't want you just to assume that just because I'm a woman that you're penetrating me and then that's all that there is, if the nature of our interaction is sexual. And I think,
do you think so? It doesn't bother you if that's a first conversation, though?
If the purposes of us acting is for us to eventually hook up and have sex, no. Because I don't want you.
But I'm saying, like, I get there's a hookup encounter. So, I know the difference between like a piece and a man you're just trying to have online, and y'all are just trying to get it down. So you're trying to handle that. I'm not.
But even if it's not hooking up, like for me, I know instantly.
Because that involves to me. I feel like everybody lies. So like in the very beginning, you're asking me to say something that I can't say that I want to do with you. Like, how would I know? And if we haven't gotten to that level that I would want to do certain things with you.
But for me, I know in the back of my hand, if we're not just doing the strict things, the friends thing, and there's a possibility, I'm the type of person, I like to put everything on the table so there's no surprises in it. I'm not 100% purity bottom. That's just not where I'm at with it. And I want you to know so that when we eventually get to that point, there's no surprises. I think that for certain types of trans women, the whole heteronormative courting, because we like different things in the bedroom, is not going to work the same for all of us. If you're 100% bottom and you kind of fit more into that heteronormative role along with cis women, then you might be expecting certain things. I'm coming up front saying, yeah, I look how I look, but it's not what it is. Like,
no. So is there a way that we can have that conversation though, without it being, oh, do you still have it? Top, bottom, verse. Like that to me, it just reduces me to body parts, and I will just never, like, there's a way, in my opinion, there's a way you can have a conversation with me where you introduce yourself to me first, where you have conversation with me first about yourself as a human being before we get to that place. But I'm saying it's quite common, and I know a lot of women can identify with this, and I know you can too, and it may not bother you. I'm just saying, for me, there's a way you can unpack those questions while getting to know me as a human, without you having to make it like check this box, or this box already off the rip. Otherwise, I'm not even going to speak to you. This is like, well, damn, fuck you. Because you really, at the end of the day, I don't want to be with people that just seeing me that way. But like, I can see where you're coming from, where it's beneficial, but I don't see that as beneficial. I don't see that as beneficial in the way if it's done at the expense of you really getting to know me. Like, if we haven't had conversations about like you know, what city you live in and how long have you been there and da 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 da. Why are you asking me questions about my genitals and what I'm gonna do with them with you? Like that's to me is reductive. I'm not that girl. So that's
I just think it's individual.
So it's good we're having this conversation so the men know that there are two schools of thought. You could go to Rihanna and maybe have a more, you know, the first conversation he could hit to her and that may not bother you. But for me, that's going to be a problem because I don't know you. And that, like, you're at, like, how do I know you're not somebody catfishing and trying to take that information and run with it? Like, I personally just am never been that girl because I just feel like there's a way to find out what you like without reducing me to this gay, like, top, bottom verse, this, that. Like,
but for me, I don't think top, bottom verse is inherently gay. I
think those terminologies are rooted in gayness, in my opinion.
But I kind of have to push back against that because trans folks have always existed alongside that. And if those terms can be applied to us, then to me, it can't be inherently gay. It should be.
So then my another question to you is, so then how then do we vet out the men that aren't trying to how do we vet out the men that are just using us for transactional nature if we agree to in the beginning start talking transactionally?
One, I think you have to be very intentional in your conversation about boundaries, but I think you have to be very intentional about what you're looking for. For me, I know the difference between whether I'm just looking for somebody to be cool with versus somebody that I'm looking to at some point. Like for me, it's very clear. Now, for some people, but again, this is a very individualistic thing. But for me, I'm not going to try to be friends or be cool with somebody that I'm secretly attracted to or I want to have sex with. But I realize that I am not everybody. Everybody, you know, moves differently. But for me, when it comes to that, I'm very black and white. I'm not going to try to befriend you, but I'm secretly attracted to you or I secretly, like, especially with men, for me, in my experience, it's been better to be very clear with men and to not give men any gray areas to misconstrue stuff because, you know, I just want to be clear on where I stand in the relationship.
And but so then my issue with it is not that I'm not trying to disclose. I disclose those things in the same way you do in an initial conversation. I just don't do it using that terminology because for me as a trans woman, and this is why we have these conversations, because for me as a trans woman, that can be triggering. I want to just bring in some comments. Chris Patterson says some trans dating apps have that feature in the profile info, and I'm sure they do. I'm sure all of them do because you know, that's important for people to know. And I'm not judging the practice of us knowing it. I just saying, if we're having a conversation and you haven't asked me my name, no, ma'am. But that's for me. And then Chris Patterson also says, men are also careful not to be labeled chaser, which is why a lot of us won't ask about top, bottom, reverse. True. Elizabeth Tony Claire says, I feel how people approach people transactionally isn't exclusive to the trans experience. I think it really is just a general thing. That's sort of how people approach hookups and relationships in general. And I agree to that as well. I do think it is general. I don't think it is limited to us. But I personally, in real life, I just feel like it will be rude for you to come up and ask certain questions of someone without asking their name. And I just like to look at the way I approach the internet, and especially in a courting situation, I want to see your manners because I'm giving you my best manners. I'm trying to get to know you as a person, and I want to treat you as respectfully as possible. And if you haven't given me the dignity of asking me my name, then no, you're not, you shouldn't have access to that information. And that's just me. But again, we're all different. And I love this conversation because this is where you and I are different, sis. You know,
but no shade. If I'm like, for instance, Grindr. If I'm putting myself in Grindr,
Grindr is
we all know that's the hookup app. Like, you kind of have to read the room. If you don't want that type of interaction, then sis, you shouldn't be on that like. We also have to be honest about the platforms that we are inserting ourselves into. Now, Tinder is a little different because it has the option to go left or to go right. But I just think you also have to be realistic about the environments that you're putting yourself into. To me, it would be unrealistic to go into Grindr and try to give a relationship team, because it's like, sis, that's not.
So has that question always been 100% accurate for you? Because it hasn't for me. That's another problem that I have with it, because you're lying anyway. So I have had, in my experience, I've had a lot of men, because they feel that that's the appropriate thing to say. They will say, "Oh, I'm a total this, and I won't do this, and I won't do that, and I'm not gonna do this," and they'll tell you that up front. But then when they get to the house, or you get in a relationship with them, or you get to know them, it's very much completely. Sometimes it's completely the opposite. And I feel like, why did you feel like you needed to lie? And I get that we live in a world where men get judged. So then, like, I just feel like if we took the pressure off of people having to say it up front, then it wouldn't be like, because at the end of the day, I do feel that it depends on, I think it depends on the relationship. There are some people that say they would never do something, but with the lioness, they was down for the cause. And on the flip side, there are times where I said I would never do something. And what I'm saying is that I feel like when people engage with one another, it is an individual experience. And like to limit in advance what the parameters of this is, it's just, I don't know. I'm glad to know that, but it also makes me feel like, damn, you're looking for sex. You're not looking for a relationship, because how is it that you don't even want to get to know me as a person if I say I don't? Now, I get how it could be used in different ways, but I'm just saying, if I don't want to disclose this right now, does this mean that I'm trying to be cagey? No, it doesn't. It just means that I choose to keep that part of my privacy private.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's, you also have to be mindful of the platforms that you're going on to.
Right. So I'm not on, if I'm on Tinder, yes ma'am, we need to put it up front, because I don't want no games. Okay, you need to please mama. Okay, so then we need to get that out there.
Right.
But what I'm saying is it has crept into real life in such a way that I have been on actual dates with men where at the restaurant, after the first few seconds, it's so. And it's just like, no, sir, not at all. I don't feel that's something you're gonna have to work finesse a bitch to get. Because I've never said I want to do nothing with you. Because to me, also too, that implies because I've had men then try to use that back in me and say, "Oh, you said this." I said I do that, but I didn't say I was gonna do that with you. So there is that level sometimes where people can feel like there's an implied consent that has happened because we've had this conversation. So I want to address that too.
I don't know. But the thing is, if I know, but I've been in situations where I kind of, even if we're on a date, I kind of want to know up front, because I've been in situations where I've dated people that dated men, trans-amorous men who were full bottoms. And it's just like, even if we're dating, I would rather know that up front, just so that I'm not wasting your time, so you can find whatever it is that you're looking for. Like I would rather not waste your time if what you're wanting is something that I can't give you. And I've
100% agree with that. But like,
I've been in that situation.
But you're okay with it being the very first thing out their mouth.
Well, I don't think it wasn't the very first thing out of their mouth, but if it's closer to the beginning, yeah, just so we're not wasting time. Just so
what I am simply saying is I am speaking on the phenomenon because of online, where men want you to say that as the first thing out of your mouth.
But I think we also have to acknowledge that times have changed, and when you were dating was like, it's evolved faster since that time. So I don't want to say that didn't happen, but I feel like,
well, so while I am in a relationship, I am saying too, though, also, even though I'm in a relationship, you know how men are. I am saying even now, before I can even say whether or not I'm in a relationship, that's what I'm saying. That's what's offensive to me, because you see that I'm trans, and as soon as I say that, before I can tell you I'm married, it's, are you this or this?
I don't know.
And then so many men do it that I know that it's a thing. And that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm not saying because of 10 years ago. I'm saying I know it's a thing because even now, even people that I am not even thinking about like that because I'm married will start out with that conversation because they're so socialized to think that it's just okay to ask everyone. And all I'm simply saying is you shouldn't do that to every girl. You should actually try to read the room.
Right.
Because I'm not with it. And that's just me. And like, you're different. But like, and I don't want to, but I'm not shaming the practice. But like for me, it bothers me because that's how I know it's transactional. Because if you're asking me that, I am married. And you didn't even get a chance to me to tell you that before you started asking me what was between my legs and what I do with it. So you didn't even ask me if I was single or in a relationship first. That wasn't the most important thing. And that's where I have a problem.
Yeah, but eventually the conversation will have to be had. And on my end, it's important for guys to know that I am not a cis woman. So with me not being a cis woman, if we were to have sex, that things will be different and we need to be open to the possibility of having that conversation.
For real. Melissa Redmond online says, I think it says Redmond. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Redmond says, if you're right, I think you're right, Elizabeth. I also feel like it's rude, and that's for me too. I feel like it's rude. I get it, but it's rude. To me, at least. It's rude, but I'm more offended when the first thing out of a guy's mouth is how much or what's your price. Now, yeah, that is just, woo. And Melissa just responded, Lord, I hear you on that. That's rude. Now, that'll get you cussed out. Because I know you just didn't assume I was no hoe. And that's not a problem because I don't have a problem with sex work, but you just don't assume that on sight. Well, how much? How much means that you don't want to get, how much is just reducing me to just that. There's no option for me to get to know you after how much, because how much already says, I just want to fuck you and I want to pay you to keep your mouth closed. Not how
I don't know. I don't feel bad about that either because at least that person knows what it is.
As a trans woman, you walking down the street, somebody walks up to you and says, how much? That doesn't bother you?
Like, yeah, it's rude, but I'm not every guy that I meet is not going to be boyfriend material or relationship. Like, I'm not, and I kind of feel like a lot of girls are in this fantasy world that every guy has to be this. I just don't feel like that's realistic. And also, realistically, the pool of men that we have access to, I just don't feel like that's, like, if you have that mindset, then you will be disappointed every time somebody comes and acts in the way that you said. For me, how I get through, what helps me is realistically, every guy is not, these are new conversations. This is a new level of understanding. So everybody is not going to be there. It's just handling people accordingly.
See, the idea that you saw me and how much was your way to talk to me, it lets me know that, again, you have not taken the opportunity to get to know, you're not trying to take the opportunity to get to know me as a human being. You've made an assumption about me based on what you think you saw and how I was dressed or how I looked. And you lumped me into a category, which is not a bad category to be in, but the idea that how much is the greeting lets me know that you only see me as a commodity to be bought and sold. And I personally would like to be seen as more than how much, because more importantly, again, sis, it's not that they're asking these questions. It's the idea that they're leading with them that is rude. Because that's not how you would approach it now.
But no shade, that's not somebody you should be interacting with or engaging with. So if somebody,
what I'm saying is that there are men out there that I made that because I'm talking to the men out there, sis, that are trying to figure out how do their attraction, and I don't want to mislead them to believe that, okay, well, I can go out and be like, how much, and a girl won't get mad. Like, that's not realistic either, sis. Like,
I'm not saying that guys can go out. I'm not saying, yes, go out there and do. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying if somebody is showing you that's where they're at and you're not comfortable with that,
then I reject them, and that's no big deal.
Yeah, like we have to get out of this mindset that we have to nurture and we have to educate like every guy. No, if somebody is blatantly showing you this is where I'm at and you're not there, then I feel like we should be empowered enough to say, this is not serving me. This is what I don't want this, and walk and leave it alone.
I agree. I agree, and that's what has to happen with. I mean, no one's. And I'm not. Yeah, no. No one's gonna do anything they don't want to do something they don't want to do. So of course, it's gonna be that. But we work very hard. I feel like I, in my life, am not always in situations because I'm saying the how much men, and the reason why we gotta allow ourselves to be seen as more than commodities, in my opinion, is because those how much men don't care where we are when they're asking how much. They don't give a fuck about my life. They actually think that I came here, I transitioned to get money. So they honestly are not concerned that I'm standing next to my husband when they're asking me that. Or if I'm at a family gathering, because that's happened to me. Or I've given a training in a professional environment. Actually, no shade, it was, and not to be, but I gave a training one time for a health department. And one of the men that were one of the doctors at the health department hit me up, walked up after everybody clapped, walked up to me afterwards and said, how much? And that in that moment, it made me feel very, very low, because there's a way that there's a time and a place for everything. So like, I will agree. There's a time to ask me that. There's a time and a place. But the time and the place is not on site when you see a trans woman, how much, because you don't know where I'm at in my life. You don't know who I'm around. You don't know. And you're putting me in a situation that's dangerous. Because again, how much automatically makes the room go, well, what is it about her where he felt like he could just ask that? And so now in a weird way, that could be outing, that could be exposing, that could be embarrassing. If I'm standing next to my mother-in-law and you do that to me, that's embarrassing. And he didn't feel no tea. He thought he was being nice. How much? He saw a trans woman and he wanted to see what was up. And that wasn't okay. So that's why I say we got to start unpacking when these things are done. It's not that it's a problem, but because I'm the kind of girl, men look at my big tits and they look at my body and they go, how much? And that's not fucking okay. And I'm not okay with that. And so this is very triggering for me, because I get that how much question more than I get you look beautiful sometimes from certain types of men. And so we gotta address that's rude as fuck. Somebody else said, everyone doesn't do things cookie cutter. True. So it's easier said than did, though.
I don't think what I suggested was cookie cutter. I think what I suggested is very hard to do because it happens.
I agree with you, sis. I don't think anything you said was cookie cutter.
Yeah, I don't think. But for me, I'm very clear about what I'm willing to tolerate and what I'm not.
But I think what she was actually saying is that we're different, that we're not cookie cutter.
Okay. No, but yeah. But yeah, me, like, dismissing guys who have, and let's be clear, the pool is overwhelmingly skewed to guys who are problematic and are transphobic in many ways. And it's not easy for me. It's not easy because sometimes, it's easier the first time, but when it is constantly happening, it does get overwhelming. And sometimes I do need a break from dealing with these men, because overwhelmingly that's the pool of men that, I am open and available to. But at the end of the day, I'm very clear about who I am, and I'm very clear about what my womanhood is, and I'm very clear about what I'm willing to tolerate, and I do a lot of work, because again, we also need to bring this into the room. Gender dysphoria is a spectrum, right? So, and me personally, not to say that I don't have gender dysphoria, because I do in certain times, in certain situations, but particularly with men and interacting with men, I had to get very clear on where I was at with my gender dysphoria and what I felt comfortable with and what felt natural to me, so that when I engage these type of men, that I'm very clear what feels comfortable to me and what I will and won't accept. And when I engage men that try to challenge me, which happens daily, that when I engage men that try to challenge my boundaries, or when I tell them I don't like something or don't do something that is an issue for them, I've had to learn and I've had to practice, well, this is somebody I don't need to engage with. This is somebody I need to let go and turn away and not look back. And it has gotten easier over time, but for me, I had to get clear about what my transition meant to me and how I wanted to move going forward interacting with these men.
Definitely. I want to answer. Elizabeth Tony Claire says, right thought, but this, I'm sorry, but this is all cultural. How little of effort people put into trying to make connections or relationships. It's balancing how much does cultural need to change and how much do our individual standards and expectations need to change. And I do think it's a pendulum. I think in general, I think we're not, I think in general, no. I think in general, trans people are not treated in a way that is very human by a lot of people in the world.
Right.
I think in general, there needs to be greater awareness about trans issues and about trans lives and about trans experience. I do think that's something that needs to be shared. I do think, though, for people that are trying to engage with us, there needs to be an education that you do on your own. There needs to be a level of personal investment in you getting to know these people you say you like, so you know how to engage with them in a way that is going to let them keep their dignity, that is going to make sure that both sides have their dignity. And so I think part of it too is we need to, as a culture, change the culture of being so accepting of behaviors that don't serve your ultimate goal, which you say is to be perceived as more than just your genitals. Like, we have to change the culture a little bit too. Like, we can't, because if we're going to say that sex work is only a segment of our population and we're going to honor those people and what they do, let them girls get their coins, do what they do, and do it how they do it. But on the flip side, we need to make the distinction that when you're engaging with the community as a whole, you don't treat us like the porn stars you see on the computer. All of us aren't into that. All of us aren't into being treated in a way that makes us feel like our sexuality is more important to you than it should be the first question out of your mouth. Like, I personally think that it's a double-edged sword. I think these people need to be educated when they come, already understanding how to at least approach a woman respectfully. And then on the flip side, I feel like we need to make sure that we're holding them into the standard, because there is a trade. There's a piece of trade for everything. And there's a trade that's just going to be trade. But if you are letting everybody approach you with the way trade approaches you, then what gives them the impression that you're not? I mean, what gives them the impression to change? What gives them the impression that you're interested in looking for something deeper too? Like, I think it does need to be a shift on both sides. We both got to change our mentalities, because there are some girls, and I am speaking from a personal experience, that cannot see men in a way that is not transactional. Like, we always talk about how the men are always looking for the girls for transactional sex. I know girls right now that will say, I will never fuck a man for free. I want it, like, as if to say that there's something wrong with those, and they will talk about relationships like we're being stupid. Meanwhile, girl, he's still paying me. There are some girls that look down on relationships. There are some girls that feel like, because of their experience as sex workers, that every man is a John and you better treat them all that way. And I have heard that being said, and I have trans masculine friends, trans men and trans amorous men that have told me that that's how they're treated by women. And I have experienced my own sisters making me and other women try to feel bad in group settings by saying, well, at the end, that's why I'm not, I make them motherfuckers pay me. And it's like, okay, girl, great. That's wonderful. We all could get paid. But because I'm in a relationship, even if he did pay you before, I'm not stupid because I want to be with him. Like, the idea that we can't even, because even if a man has done that, we can't see them as in a different way. Like, it's toxic to me. It's toxic. Like, we got to start letting people be people and not trying to label them. And I feel like sometimes the girls that have engaged in that lifestyle label every man that way and label us, all the girls that haven't done that or girls that are in relationships, as stupid. So I want to put that out there too. What are your thoughts on that, sis? Because you have heard that before, right?
No, I've heard that before.
I'm not talking crazy. Like, I know you've heard girls say that before.
Yeah, I've heard girl, but again, I think this all goes back to what we can do individually to shift the culture. And again, for me, there's a different standard I have for men that I hook up with, and that's the clear intention, versus men that we want to date each other or we want something more. So if you want to date me and you want to be in my life in that way, then I'm requiring a higher standard of how you engage with me and how you interact with me versus us just hooking up, we satisfying each other, and then, you know, we go on about our separate ways.
Well, my thought was more about how the girls, I'm not talking about the men at this point. I'm saying, do you think that that's, do you perceive that there needs to be a shift in culture with the way the girls handle men in a transactional way that aren't necessarily like, or like look down on relationships? That's more of what I'm saying.
I don't know, because I don't know, because I feel like that's a certain segment of girls that are still engaging in sex work in that way.
It's a larger segment though, not necessarily engaging, but like there are girls that are jaded. That's what I mean, the jadedness of our community. Like they've been hurt. They don't think that men can be trustworthy. They oftentimes will they have valid reasons for feeling the way that they feel, but they're triggered and they're triggered by the idea that, oh girl, because like I said, the most common negative thing that I've heard since I've been in a relationship is, oh girl, well, I mean, how you know your man not fucking somebody else, girl? I mean, you know how these niggas are. They not going, I mean, girl, so you might as well. And it's like, if I thought that way, I would not have been with my man. I would look at him as something beneath, something lower, because because I at one point was that way too. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And the shift for me and realizing that I was ready for a relationship was not making every man those men that are cheating on their wives, not judging every man by those men that are running games and playing DL games in this world. All men aren't like that. And I feel like, but in our culture, there are some girls that will say that. Like I'm a part of several groups right now where if you try to put up something trying to affirm men, there'll be 12 girls under it saying, oh, well, but you know, these niggas ain't shit. And it's like, all of them, we can't do what other people do to us to other people. Like, we got to stop shaming our men, and that's what I'm really speaking to.
I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to invalidate trans women that have that, because not that what they're saying is the truth, but that's more representative of where they are in life. Like, that's true for them, but I think it's tied up. I think a lot of that sentiment is tied up in transphobia that we have to work through. So I don't want, like, I want to be careful. I don't want to say like that mindset or these girls are wrong for having that mindset or that is not true, because it's true for them, because they didn't just, you know, wake up one day and have that mindset. They have went through something that, you know, painted their mind in that way that they think.
Jaded.
Yeah. I think when you do the work, first we have to really acknowledge how transphobic our society and how transphobic our culture is, and how that really impacts you on a day-to-day basis, whether you are cognizant of it or not.
Social conditioning. That's what.
Yeah. Because even as woke as I am, and even as free as I am, I still have to consciously make sure that I'm engaging in practices where I'm undoing the transphobia. Even when it's coming out. But I think we have to encourage. I think we really have to encourage our sisters, and I think we have to be patient with our sisters to really encourage them to go through that process. Because I know for me, once I started to not hate myself and not hate being trans, and also once I started to open my eyes to seeing how the world is set up and how some things are what they are, I think my heart opened up to not take certain things personal.
Right.
Because the world is what it is. Like, people are going to be who they are, but I have the conscious choice to move through life and move knowing that at every step of the way there's going to be some type of messaging for me to hate myself, for me to not love myself, for me to be uncomfortable in my body. But I actively have to make the choice to kind of navigate through that, and to also see the people and to embrace the interactions where I'm getting what I need.
Right.
So it's not necessarily as much as changing the culture, because even though we can change the culture, I feel like ultimately we are not responsible for changing the culture because we didn't create the culture. We're just surviving in the culture. I think it's imperative on us to really do the work where we love ourselves and we accept ourselves wherever we at, and that we create boundaries, but we don't create boundaries to the point where we are missing out on connections on people that are really willing to meet us where we're at.
I agree.
And where we're at is different for every trans woman. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about because I was once one of those girls. All these niggas ain't shit and da 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 da. And it's easy to do that, but it's harder to do the work to be like, girl, you've been through a lot of shit. And some of these men have done a lot of shit to you, but because of the world that you lived in and because of how you really felt about yourself, but you really weren't willing to talk about it, some of the stuff you kind of allowed to happen, but that's because you didn't have any tools and you didn't have a representation of
accountability,
what this could look like. And I think it's scary because a lot of us are like we don't have any models of what, like, it's like on the job training. A lot of us, and it's scary to be out there. It's scary to have boundaries and to make people, it's scary to make people live up to those boundaries, especially when one of the consequences are they're going to have a adverse reaction or they're going to walk away. It's scary and it's painful and it's hurtful. And I feel like at the base, a lot of us as trans women don't want to be alone, or we're scared to be alone. We're scared to be by ourselves. But no shade, it's through being by myself and having that like personal alone time to just listen to my thoughts and to be sad and to cry and to get out and to work through it and actually sit. What does Brianna want? Like, what does Brianna want? What brings me pleasure? What's making me happy? And let me get real clear about that, because moving forward, I only want to share space with people who are invested in the stuff that I'm invested in.
I agree, 1,000%. 1,000%. Let's switch to some lighter topics, girl. Let's switch to some lighter topics because it was a lot of new music this week.
Right.
So let's talk about some of this music, girl. So let's talk. What do you think about? Well, let's start with my queen, Brandy. What do you think about her album?
I'm really proud. I'm really proud of her. I'm really proud of her.
Like 5 stars. So let's going on the star system. 5 star, 4 star, 3 star, 2 star. What do you give her?
I give it 5. I give it a 5 star. Even that song "Baby Mama," when I finally heard it, I was like, "Oh, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be." I thought it was going to be. I'm proud of Brandy because, like, following her throughout her career, I know she felt real insecure about her position in the industry, and she felt really insecure about her projects. What I love about this project is that from start to finish, it was authentically her. She co-wrote every track on the album, and I like the fact that she wasn't chasing a sound, nor was she trying to recreate a sound from one of her more successful periods. It was like Brandy, the icon now, and like every track, and every track didn't sound the same. Every track was just a natural extension of each other. I love the album, and I don't care to me, this is not about like, oh, it going #1 or it going triple platinum. I feel like this album was more of a testament to her artistry and her really sitting in her icon status and just being a creative. And I really enjoy her project. And it's like another project that I can listen cumulatively with all of her other like classic, legendary, iconic albums.
Because it still sounds like Brandy, even though it doesn't sound like anything she's ever done.
Right. So I'm super proud of her. And Brandy just has a special place in my heart because like so I sung in the choir in high school, but like I wasn't one of the choir kids that were like particularly religious or that were in church. So Brandy meant a lot to me because because of her particular style of singing and her singing multiple lines within like multiple musical melodic lines within her songs. I, in addition to a lot of people, would use her songs, listening to the different lines within her songs to kind of like, it kind of helped me study like choral music or choir music. So like while everybody was listening to the Kirk Franklins and the Fred Hammonds and all of that, and they had those references, Brandy was kind of my reference of perfecting my art just in the particular way that she sung and her runs and the tone of her voice. So Brandy means a lot to me. I love Brandy. I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her. What are your thoughts?
Oh my God. So I want to start with, I'm one of those people, I consider her one of the greatest vocalists alive. So then the standard is high for me because Brandy, to me, even as a young, Brandy and I are around the same age. And so I saw her as a peer growing up. And it was, her voice was far and away better than any of a lot of the adults that I had been around. And it was just like watching that, like just being a kid and like being just floored by the anointing flowing through her body was just something amazing. But then now, like, to watch her evolution, to see her setbacks as an artist. I love her vulnerability on this album. I love that she talked about that journey and how like what it is to be seen and to be appreciated and to be critically acclaimed, but for that not to amount to that not to amount to the success that she should have had. And I respected the gangster because a lot of artists aren't really able to be real about that. A lot of people will fake flex. And she has all the stats that she could drop where she could say, oh, I did it. I was successful. And I would consider her a success. And I do think she is successful. But I love that vulnerability of an artist to know that you put out good ass shit and to have people come up to you all the time and tell you that's some good ass shit. I love your music and you the vocal Bible and this and that and the third. But for then that to not add to the level of success that they're willing to give people for an inferior product. Your same fans. And so while I've always bought every Brandy album, and while I have seen her live and I do go out of my way to try to support her as an artist, there is a large part of her fan base that I feel like doesn't appreciate her. And so when I say doesn't appreciate her by supporting it, the actual merchandise, buying it the way that they should. And you know, I feel like that's always been a pain in my heart for me. That everybody will go up for Brandy, but then when her albums drop, it's like, you know, they won't even, sometimes they especially later in life, some of her albums have not been financially successful while still being critically acclaimed. And that's just crazy to me. But this album, I appreciated her vulnerability. I appreciated her vocals. Her vocal ability is undeniable and it has improved. I think that what she does in the studio is something that is amazing. She actually should be given the masterclass on how to studio sing. The way she stacks her vocals, the way she's able to sound like auto-tune because she can repeat the same. She can sing the song, she can sing something the same way, and they can stack it in a way where it creates this. I mean, like I as someone that is a singer, because I'm also someone that grew up, I come from a singing family and I did sing in church. So I do have that background, but Brandy still was the defining voice in a lot of ways for my childhood. And I love her. And You know, B7 is something that I'm gonna have on repeat. Like I get obsessive with her songs. So like I'll play one song 12 times. That's how much I like Brandy.
Like, and I appreciate it. This is an album you could listen just from beginning to end. And I'm gonna be honest, I can't remember the last album that I played where it was like you just let it play from beginning to end and then you want to listen again.
Oh, I think it is. Yes, I agree. It's one of those you can't digest it in one listen, so you kind of really do have to listen to it again. Now, I'm gonna be honest. All of the production is in my tea. No album is perfect. I like 99% of it, which is why I'm going up. But there is a 2% of it where I feel like production-wise, the producers, I just couldn't grasp with some of those beats sounded like, stick pots and panties. Like it gave like the beat will fall apart in the middle, and it would be there were a lot of songs that were very deconstructed production wise, and I'm not a fan of a deconstructed melody. Like I like her. That's not a shade to Brandy, because that's just more of a critique of some of the production style. I didn't care for some of the tracks make somehow trigger an anxiety in me. But even those, I can't help but listen, because the way her voice just haunts me, makes me listen. But every song isn't the best song that I've ever heard. But the body of work is beautiful, and her voice, even on the songs that I don't like, is still undeniable. So shout out to Brandy.
No, I actually liked all of the songs. And that's a very rare that I find a project where I like all of the songs. Now, some I love more than others, but it's not one where it's like skip like.
Well, yeah, no. I was going to say it's not skip worthy. There's nothing skip worthy on this album. I just don't care for all of the beats. That's just me.
Right. So shout out to Brandy. We love you. And
Chris made a comment about Brandy. He said one thing I saw about Brandy is people upset her version of Cinderella. People are upset about her version of Cinderella isn't Disney. Oh, people were upset that her version of Cinderella wasn't Disney.
Wasn't on Disney Plus.
Wasn't on Disney Plus?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't on Disney Plus. Oh, people are upset that it's not on there.
Yeah,
why wouldn't it be on there? Maybe there were some clearance issues with,
But what's the clearance? Because the Cinderella was on ABC, and ABC is owned by Disney.
Disney, do fucking better. Why is it? Wait a minute. Hold on. It's not, the idea that it's not on there is gagging me. So I'm still processing that. Like, why isn't it on there? Like, if I got Disney Plus, that would be why. Like, that's one of the reasons would be to hear her at Whitney Houston. Impossible. Like, that would be why I would watch it.
No, I hope they get it on there. But I feel like this is a return to Saturn for Brandy. I really do. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like with the other, I also feel like it's about timing. Everything. Even like I really enjoyed the 211 album. I like some songs from the Human album, but no shade. That album, when it came, that wasn't the best situation for her, like label wise and like her personal. Like everything is about timing. Sometimes, like we all have highs and lows.
Well, really fast, what do you think about those? Because there are some video footages of her with some awkward live performances, and I hate that people.
I felt like back then, I really felt, because Beyonce was that girl, I really felt like that made her insecure about her live performances. And I felt like the 2000s to the early 2010s, like Beyonce had a lot of the girls shook, and like you could tell she had Brandy shook, but I feel like now she's confident. It's about timing. Everybody you can't be in the sun all the time, right?
I think she's given up trying to be a pop star.
Yeah. That's the key. It's just like, it's kind of like you think you have this goal or this one thing that you want, but the universe wanted something. like something else was meant for you that you weren't even thinking of or you weren't even considering. And I feel like she's at that other place. Like she's like you don't. I feel like you don't need to be super popular or have this super commercial impact, super commercial performance in order to make a big impact. And like, I'm not looking for this album to do numbers. I just feel like it was more impactful that she was in a great like label situation and that she was able to have the creative control that she wanted to have so she could put out a great piece of work, which we didn't have in those other situations, which contributed to, because it's hard to have commercial success when you're on a label where you're putting out work on a label that doesn't believe in you and they don't want you to win. So I just think it's hard to. I just think but previously all of the pieces weren't together for her to really win like she's winning now, and I think the people want to see her win now. So I'm just really happy. I'm really happy for her.
I am too. Now, on to WAP. First of all, I love this album art, which is why I wanted to show.
Yes, you know, I live for an updo bitch. First of all, I live for a band.
Because you know I'm the bad. I come from the generation where there was in middle school. It was the barrels with the crimps, with the waterfalls, with the motherfucking head on in the back, and then that was crimped.
No, bitch. I also come from the generation of the hard updos that was set with the wax and the drop curls. Because I remember girls in high school had that, and I just thought it was everything. It was everything. I wish I could have had my hair like
with
that.
A bang, with high low, and it was crimped, and then it would be in an updo and it was young kids doing that. So that was my era, and I agree too. So what do you think about this song? Well, first of all, did you see the video?
I sure did. I watched it last night.
Let's unpack it.
I felt it was an event. I like everything about it. It was very colorful. They looked great in the video. I like the fact that the thing that I like about Cardi B and about her videos, like even though it's like sex and body, it's a visual, like there's movement. I just like, you could tell like her and her team put like a lot of thought. It's just not her like splashing around in the pool or her like sitting next to like a Lamborghini. It's just like, okay, this scene goes into this scene and goes into that scene.
She took being a slut and made it rich, bitch, and that's what I live for. Like, and that's not slut shaming. I think that a slut can be used as a positive word, and I love that she just is like, I'm gonna be in my bikini with my tits out with the tassels on it, bitch, and I'm gonna be in this mansion, and it's not like you say, it's very reminiscent to me. Shout out to Kim, Little Kim, the Queen Bee, the original Beehive I'm a part of. I want to give her honor because even in this moment, I could see her all over the place. You know what I mean? Like all of her influences. This video even reminds me of the Little Kim video that she put out not too long ago with very similar colors and some of the visual stuff that it did. Because I follow Kim, honey. Like the them with the bikinis with the robe. Kim did a video where she was trying to go for this like Afrobeat sound, and she literally, a lot of the video treatment is similar to this video. So shout out to Kim. You are still inspiring bitches. And that's a good thing. That's not That's not in comparison. That's not trying to do nothing. That's a good thing. But sis, this video wore me down. Now I personally cussed the TV out when I saw Kylie. I'm gonna just be real. What the fuck? Like, cause in my mind, that 19, 20, 21-year-old girl has done nothing for this culture. Period. Other than took up motherfucking space with her proximity to blackness by her family dating black men. Like, we have been doing a lot now, and I don't follow her like that, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like she's doing enough to garner this level of like goddess like status. Like, in that fabulous ass video with these black women doing their thug thizzle, why does white bitch come strolling on the hallway like she the Dundada? Like, bitch, your body ain't even the baddest in the video. Like, I just didn't, but I also understand that it was filmed in her mansion. So I guess, bitch, if you're gonna film here, bitch, I'm gonna get a cameo. And it's gonna
even though it was annoying to see her in the video, I like her being in the video just for the simple fact of it's like let's use this little white girl for more exposure and to get us to number one. Because whether you like her or hate her, people are still talking about her. People still have opinions about it. And I'm hoping that it generates enough buzz so that this record goes to number one. And I don't know. I don't. The Kardashian Jenner family annoys me, but the bigger picture to me is let's use her to help these women of color do their thing and to get their shine.
Yeah, I'm against the whole we got to use a white person to help these women of color get shine. I feel like that video would have been even more epic if that cameo was not wasted on her and was given to, even though we know it's not going to happen, but if Onika could come up out of her feelings and be just pop through, or if they gave it to, if they let Kim do an appearance, or if they let Foxy, or just like made it more of a black women rap moment. Because when you now, because believe it or not, just be real, we know that we live in a world where white women are held as the standard. And it would have been nice to see something so rich and so opulent where where black women will be celebrated without then having to watch this white woman come down the hallway for everybody all over the world to be like, yes, Kylie, and to completely ignore. Because let's talk about the color. Like I that feel, as a brown skinned woman, it felt good to see like this Latina black woman and this like, black woman from the South both come together and like do this big project. And then for this white bitch she don't rap, that bitch don't go to the BET Awards, she would not be in nobody video if it weren't for clout. And once again, we have allowed that family to make themselves relevant in something that has nothing to fuck to do with them. And that just irritates the shit out of me. It just does. Like, why Kylie? Kylie, like, fake ass Kylie, like. And I don't dislike her. So I just don't get why she feels the need and why everybody feels the need to give her this space in our culture when she don't do nothing in return. That's just me.
I don't know. Like, I can see how other people like were bothered by it. But to me, in the grand scheme of things,
like there's so much evidence of her cribbing from black women online, stealing their stuff. She tried to say she started black culture. We've had to cancel Miss Kylie a couple times for stepping in and saying she did stuff that she said she started lace fronts. Like, like Miss Thing, I don't understand that. I don't understand Hollywood's obsession with them people. No, black people's obsession with them people. I get Hollywood's obsession. I don't get why we obsessed. Why she had to be in there. She didn't twerk. That bitch didn't do nothing but go, I'm more beautiful. Watch the like she was too good to get down with the get down. Busted if you're gonna be in it. Bitch, Kylie busted. That would have made it cute to me. But you gave nothing but I'm beautiful walking through a room. Goodbye. Like, okay, girl, fuck you too.
I don't know. It didn't bother me that much, but like I said, I could see the problem or the issue with it. But overall, I liked the video. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good time, and I like that we're in this era now of female rap that we're seeing like all of these collaborations, and even also in the video, Sukihana was in the video, Mulatto was in the video, Normani was in the video. So I'm glad that we're kind of in the time where we're seeing like women empowerment and all of these like black rappers coming to black rappers and entertainers coming together and celebrating each other and just visually seeing it all together on screen, it definitely is like reminiscent of like Ladies Night with Lil' Kim and Missy, and like that whole movement in the late 90s of all of the black women entertainers coming. So it just like it felt good to watch. It felt good. They looked like they had fun, and I want more, honey. I want more. I want more. I like the sample. I like the
imagine Ladies Night, and then like back in the day when Ladies Night was out, and then Denise Richards just come punching through. Like people will be like, like what the fuck? Like Denise Richards just come pooching through, some little white lady just pooching through. Like, not that it was a problem, but she didn't add anything to the visual to me, other than to say.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, she did look good. Like,
she looked amazing.
Yeah, but
no. It's not to hate on the bitch. She looked amazing, but she added nothing to it. And it's like, what? Would this bitch give it press? Is she gonna do a press run to promote these black women? No. Is she? Because that's not what she does. I'm a billionaire with a biracial baby. That should be enough.
But I don't think she needed to do, because just by her being in the video, it's just like you're talking about, why is she in the video? Oh my God, she's in it. Like, it's created this, like, whether positive or negative, it's.
But we're not talking about. We haven't talked this long about the video itself, though. Like, she's upstaging because she's so ill placed. It's trending. That's the topic that's trending just as much, not less than, because the video is trending big. But it's also trending that, and I just hate that distraction wasn't there.
But but I think the bottom line is making people watch the video, and we know now that watches counts towards Billboard chart performance. So the more that people watch the video and break records and all of that, the better it's going to be for the singer.
How do you think Onika is going to feel when this becomes number one? And like,
I don't know. I just don't feel like she needs to feel any type of way. And I saw somebody hit on my Facebook had made a point. It's just like, why does she never, like, she could easily be a part of this, but why does she never like do these type of collaborations? But she's always quick to collaborate with like these young little boy rappers that haven't proved themselves. I don't know.
Well, no, because now if I'm not mistaken, Hot Girl Summer was last summer, and that was her. And
but it's not a consistent thing. It's always a very one-off thing. But like for like a Tekashi 6ix9ine, and she has another video dropping for a collaboration she did with some little like rapper that rappers that don't even really, that are not really on her level lyrically.
So let me say, I'm a big Nicki Minaj fan, and I don't think that means that I can't also be a big Cardi fan, and I don't think that also means I can't be a Kim fan and a Meg fan. Like, I hate that we live in a world where there are some people right now that's like, oh, well, if you like Nicki, you can't like Cardi. No, fuck you for trying to divide black women. I do think that black women can appreciate all can exist in the same space and make money, and it don't have to be that. And I can be fans of all three and in their hives, and it not be no tea. But with Nicki Minaj, I just feel like there's too much negativity out there about her that it almost is like, because we don't even know if they extended her to be a part of it. But like, because we're assuming that she didn't want to be a part of it, or that she wouldn't do it if asked. And I feel like that narrative is like, I hate that she's being painted as a black woman, as this difficult person that no one can work with. Yeah, she's got an attitude. But it's a lot of niggas that have attitudes, and they're seen as bosses and businessmen. And I just don't like that sometimes online, it's just like this negativity towards Nicki Minaj in particular, because she's not the most soft and fluffiest person. And I feel like as an artist, you have a right to do stuff that you would do stuff with whoever you want to. Now, I said all that because I needed to get that caveat out the way, because now what I'm about to say may sound like I don't like the girl, and I needed that to be out first, okay? But I do have an issue with the fact that there is a lot of her, she puts out the narrative like these bitches, and like she talks about like she has made the black woman comments in the past, and she has made colorist statements that she did apologize for. But like, Nicki got to work with realizing that You are entitled to be gracious as a star. You are required to be gracious. If you want us to continue to invest in you, you need to learn to be gracious. And that is not just in what you do, it's how you do it, and it's how you say things. And I feel like in the past she's done things kind of off the cuff that maybe weren't the most emotionally sensitive. And as a result, she has created a narrative that only time can work out. She's a new mom. Congratulations, Onika Mirage Petty, on the birth of your new child. So she's, on your pregnancy and your impending birth, and I feel like I wanted her to be in this video more than Kylie, at least.
No, I would have loved to see her in the video too. I just hope that it's a time somewhere in the future where all of the big rap girls can work together and it's no tea. Because that's what I would want to see. I just would want to see everybody put their egos or their beefs to the, because no shade, that's what the fans want. I feel like the fans want to see that. And I personally want to see, I feel like it's room for everybody to win, and it doesn't have to be like this divisiveness. Well, if you listen to this girl, you can't listen to this girl, and I don't know. I just feel like it's counterproductive.
Shout out to Nicki, shout out to Meg, shout out to Cardi, shout out to Kylie, shout out to Normani, and all these other women that were in the video. I see y'all, and I just want everybody to win. Kylie, though, you can no more. I need you to not be in everybody's video. Don't be that girl, because you really added nothing. It was cute. You did look amazing for a white woman with $1 billion worth of surgeries, and that's cute. But she didn't add nothing, and I'm not giving her because they're famous for being famous at the end of the day, and we got to remember that. We got to stop feeding into it if you ever want to stand on your own. I don't get that influencer thing annoys me sometimes, because influencers don't have to be in everything. But I get it. They want the young kids. They need it. I get it.
Yeah, and I'm hoping it's a single. If not number one, it's like a top 5 or top 3 single for Cardi.
It's gonna go 1. Kylie's in it.
Right. So I'm hoping that at least that happens, because that the culture needs everything. So we were going to have more topics, but we're at the 2-hour mark.
Yes.
So I think we're going to end this here.
Thank you guys for tuning in. So if you like what you saw today, if you like the content that we're providing, we want you to know that you can and you should support a Black trans business by going on to our Anchor page and donating to our Anchor account, so that we can continue to provide you with this excellent content, especially if you like the lives. We would love to be able to put on something that is a little more produced, that is a lot more put together, but that requires an investment, and we would love if you could. Also, please tune into our podcast. Our episode today was on our cis women relationships, and we just want you to make sure you follow, and subscribe us on all our social media platforms at box number 512 podcast, Grown Black Trans Woman Talk. And I am the Lioness.
And I am Aeon. Bye, you guys.
Bye.